Hi, David. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Hans. Can you hear us in the studio?
Yes.
Okay. So we are here with a patient who is known to have serrated polyposis syndrome. I've been pretty busy here before, removing many polyps, and actually we were just looking around, struggling to find some things, but I think we have found something for you. Are you able to see in the studio 2 endoscopic images?
We have nice 2 endoscopic images, David.
So what you're seeing is on the left, just which one, Hans, just for me, has got the blue boxes appearing now? Is it the above or the below?
It's the right one.
The right one. So the one on the right is the Fujifilm CAD eye system. The one on the left with the green boxes is the Medtronic GI Genius system. So I think the first time I've ever seen two, they're running off the same image. So but the Fujifilm is running, it's a Fujinon scope, it's a Fujifilm system, that's using the images, and the Medtronic system is running on the same images and giving the same live endoscopic detection view. We're in detection mode now. So what we see is similar results going on here. And actually, the systems are pretty good at picking up that there's something going on up here. So we can have a little better look, because they're both reliably saying that, the left one and the right one. And so we can switch to BLI. The Medtronic system currently doesn't have the characterization, but I'm reliably told by them that that will follow. And when we look here with a human observer, what do we see? Jeroen?
So I think you can see the pretty regular, yeah?
So nothing?
Exactly, yeah.
So the humans disagree with the AI, and we don't think there's something there. Raf, are you there?
Yes, I am.
And what do you think?
Yeah, it's a nice demonstration. Actually, the first time that this is shown. And I think what it really shows is that the system does have false positive rates, right? So we know that this is in fact so. And I think we will have this for anything that we will be using, because there's also always a degree of uncertainty, which at a certain point the system will say, I see something or not. So the output is a box or no box, right? For any pixel in that image. So that is in itself already amazing, I think. But there is false positive rates. And the most important thing at this stage, as you just illustrated, is that you, as an endoscopist, make the decision, right?
Very important.
And you said maybe there was something going on, and maybe you yourself would have had a closer look at those faults as well, and therefore the system might be a little bit uncertain about what's going on. And sometimes you see that the boxes just disappear if you approach it and there's clearly nothing visible.
True. That's true.
So, but obviously we need to have a decent cutoff, because if you get annoyed as an endoscopist by all the sounds going off or the boxes appearing, you may start losing attention or not paying attention to them anymore. A bit like the line track you have with your car if it goes off too often, right?
Yeah, right. I think what is quite nice to see here, though, Raf, and maybe you have some comment on this, is that it's not picking up the stool. So this is actually not that well prepared. And the system is not repeatedly picking up pieces of stool on the mucosa. So actually, both of these systems in their detection mode are already quite advanced.
And that is because the system has been trained with videos. Both systems have been trained with pictures and videos usually contain stools. And all of these videos have been delineated to show where the polyps are. So all the stools were actually told not to be polyps. So that's why these convolutional networks train that stool is in fact not a polyp. Right? So not anything that is different than normal colonic mucosa will be classified as a polyp. Only things that resemble the shape of polyps or something that's completely different. For instance, I would challenge you to introduce a polypectomy snare or a biopsy forceps, and sometimes that will trigger a system as well.
Because also me and you talked earlier about a cap on the scope affecting the system, and it doesn't seem to, I mean, it's actually quite pushed on, this cap. I quite like to still use a cap even if it's pushed on like this. It's not interfering with the detection.
Have you tried this with the endocuff, David?
No, I haven't, but I don't tend to use too much endocuff personally. Raf, is your experience as well? You have much experience of caps and AI?
No, I haven't. So, but I do think, well, the image is always analyzed as it is. So obviously we got like this kind of tunnel vision that we see through this cap, but the computer doesn't. It just looks at the pixels and how they are related to each other. Okay. So I don't think, unless the illumination would be significantly decreased by a cap if you push it out too far. That may affect, I think, the performance. But in this case, when you have a nice brightness, then I don't think it will affect it.
And I'd like to bring in John. John, are you there?
I am.
I don't hear you well. Can someone sort John's sound into the endoscopy room out? John, can you hear me?
I can, David.
Perfect.
It's very
John,
unusual for me.
so right now the system is looking at a very complex image, I would say. It's a piece of stool, but it also, I mean, I don't think to convince you that I also think there's a polyp underneath that. What do you think?
I'd like you to wash it, David, if you would.
But I'm not washing it, particularly to give the AI a hard time. So actually, we will wash it shortly, of course. But yeah, the human, what I find remarkable about this, and maybe Raf has a comment, is that it's picking that up next to a real large piece of stool, and it's reliably not picking up the stool.
It's very good from that. As you say, there's a very small lesion there, David, and credit to the system for highlighting that. And that would, you would just wonder what was next to it.
Yeah, well, let's
that might
find
be the edge
out,
of something a lot bigger.
Let's find out whether it's bigger or whether it is indeed quite small. So if we wash that away, of course you have to be careful not to lose what you do when you wash away such a piece of stool. Then we need to have a look what's underneath.
So, but again, as humans, we are subjected to Gestalt psychology. So we are attracted by the big piece of stool, and the computer is not distracted. It will look at whatever is there and present it to it. So that's nicely showing the difference, I think, between human intelligence and artificial intelligence. It was already instigated in 1950 for software able to learn and solve problems requiring an intelligence level. Right, so the calculators we have are not working as an Incubus, so they really are a form of artificial intelligence. And since the 80s, machine learning has been introduced, where machines themselves can improve a task with experience. And it's only since about 10 years now that this new era of deep learning, thanks to the increase in computational power of the computers, was introduced. Actually, if you talk to people, and one of our engineers retired last year, and he was one of the pioneers in our department working in the 80s on that. He never would have thought at that time that the computers would have the power we have nowadays to perform the tasks that they are doing now. So artificial intelligence basically is intelligence demonstrated by machines, unlike the natural intelligence displayed by humans and animals. So it definitely differs from that. And it's in the field defined as a study of intelligent agents, so any device that perceives its environment and takes action that maximizes its chance for a successful achievement of the goal, like you could see polyp detection, for instance. And the term is often used to describe machines that mimic cognitive functions that humans associated with the human mind, such as learning and problem solving. But don't be fooled. At this stage, we're not there in the machine era yet that they will control us. We still have to teach them what they will be able to do.
So AI is really a black box system. You get a load of inputs that are put into it. These are endoscopic images, endoscopic video. You have bias from the human operator, so what do you show the AI? Because if you don't show it to the AI, then it can't see the problem. Then you have the algorithm, or the AI in the middle. You have training data, so this is we'll come to that in a minute. These are the sets of images or videos that the system was trained on to detect polyps. Then you have data that potentially was ignored by the researchers, or the researchers particularly didn't want included in the data set, maybe because it influenced the performance characteristics of the AI. And then you have the output, either is there a polyp or not. Training sets are really important. There are at least 4 AI systems for colorectal polyp detection, either released or nearly ready for release. But we don't know, I don't know, as a clinician, which images they were trained on. I would love to see the library of images and video that these systems were trained on, so that I can see just exactly how high quality they are, and maybe understand a little bit more of what they are doing when the image goes into the black box. Was their performance status, has their performance status been compared to histopathology, and is that data of the sensitivity, specificity, negative predictive value and positive predictive value of a green box on a polyp when compared to histopathology? These
are things we as clinicians need to know the answer to. Market forces is almost certainly the reason why we will likely, one, never know the answer to these questions, and two, why we are seeing the multitude of artificial intelligence systems hit the market without a proper thought as to how they should be used or how they can be used in the future. And this is why I think, and our next speaker will discuss this, that there is a need for academic systems where they're developed in a transparent environment, where their performance is subject to peer-reviewed publication. And there are currently multiple of these under development, and I think these systems will be more trusted by the medical community than those produced by market forces. And then we have the update problem. So you have your artificial intelligence working really well, and then the firm updates it. And when the firm updates it, it has a totally different set of characteristics, by the way, none of which we know because it's still a black box, from the one that you used yesterday. So I did a colonoscopy yesterday, and it showed me a couple of and then the next day it's different. And of course, any update may bring different behavior and outputs, and so we need some form of constant update monitoring by either regulatory authorities or whatever, because normally those medical devices are approved at one stage and then let out into the open and left there because they don't change, but artificial intelligence changes. So almost certainly we need constant comparison against the gold standard. We also need some trust, and this is more globally in medicine, not just endoscopy, some trust that the system is not biased, that the system is not performing in a certain way that benefits some group of patients and not others. And so these useful 7 terms were brought forward by the European Commission as to what is required for an AI system in terms of it to be or potentially gain and maintain public trust. And you can read through them, but they are actually very interesting, and they bring up interesting questions, legal, ethical issues. So to summarize, in the end, for an acceptable, fair and transparent artificial intelligence system, almost certainly we will need to have trade-offs between market forces, the need to make money from these systems, intellectual property, the company's ownership of the data used to produce them. We may have to break that to understand exactly how they work. Cybersecurity, using patients' data and restricting access to patient-acquired data, and accuracy and privacy will all need to work together to decide what threshold we are comfortable with when considering artificial intelligence. Nowhere is this more difficult or more important than in the healthcare sphere, and of course it's not just healthcare that's battling with this, all walks of life are, but in healthcare some of these are extremely pertinent. In terms of GIEQs quality parameters for this talk, of course we need much more evidence. We have one study now, I'm sure more will come to show the benefit on adenoma detection rate, but we certainly really hard need to work on characterization in terms of studies. There is an urgent need amongst the community of gastroenterologists, and certainly at the regulatory level, at the Endoscopy Society level, to bring a halt to market forces as the driver for artificial intelligence development, and really get a standardized training data set, which we all agree, which experts agree on the presence or absence of polyps, and use that standardized data set to train future AI systems, and also to train or assess the sequential updates that would be provided to the system to see if they're still matching the system as it was before the update. And a roundtable discussion about how best to introduce these systems is important, but also, really importantly, to monitor their effect on departments, individuals' training, bringing up trainees, and individual performance. Thank you very much for your attention.